Tony, such a pleasure, buddy.
Good to see you, brother.
So let's talk about longevity. It's something that we've come together on and we've talked about, a few questions. So the average age right now is, let's see, about 100 years ago was 40 years old. Today It's close to 80 years old. Bottom line ultimately is, how old do you want to live? How long do you want to live?
You and I have a little different point of view about this. To me, it's not the length of my life, it's the depth and quality of while I'm here. But yes, would I like to live at least 100 years? Yeah, I think that to me is a natural cycle. I know for you, the biblical 120 is the minimum for you, right? But where is it for you?
So I think about this. I think about the most amazing time we live in right now, and that we're going to see the ability for the human race to go to the stars. And
we need a lot longer life.
I need a lot longer life. I remember when I was growing up, I saw a TV show on long-lived sea life, that whales, turtles, and sharks could live 400, 500, 600, 700 years. Yeah. And I remember when I was in medical school, I made the commitment. I said, well, if they can live 700 years, why can't I?
I love you, Peter.
It's clearly, it's either going to be a hardware or a software problem. And so we're just beginning to get that. But at the end of the day, 100, 120?
120 is a nice range, but again, what I want is, I want the passion, I want the aliveness, I want the energy, I want the vitality, I want the strength during that time. I want to be able to keep rejuvenating. That to me matters the most. I think, we were at the Vatican together, and do you remember what happened?
I do remember. I asked the question.
And it was all, by the way, context for everybody, it was a conference of some of the smartest doctors in the world, right? The best regenerative medicine doctors are out there. But
so I'm on stage with an alderman, a cardinal, a rabbi,
yes.
The head of the FDA, and we're had the conversation about how long should humans be able to live. And so I asked the question of the entire audience there. I said, how many of you would like to live to 120 years old? And I was shocked at what happened.
Yeah.
Like a third of the room raised their hands.
Which is another way of saying 2/3 did not raise their hands.
And I was like, wow, okay. I said, well, all of you can give me your extra years.
But I think part of the problem is, most people, death gives us a scarcity about life. It makes us have meaning in the life. And I think one of the challenges will be, it's exciting to know, look, we went from 40 to 80 in that century, and all we really did was clean up the environment a little bit, have toilets and some basic sanitation and some fundamental, vaccines and things of that nature. But you look at the technology coming now, getting to 120 should not be hard, because there are humans that already can get to that age. But I think the real question is, what are you going to do with that life? See, you and I have so much we want to squeeze out of this life that we want every day we can possibly get. Quality days, right?
So I asked you after that session at the Vatican,
what happened?
What happened? And I said, why don't people want to live longer? And you answered it beautifully.
Well, I just think they got to find a meaningful life, and most people, they do the same thing over and over again. Their life isn't fulfilling enough. So who wants to go 120 years? We both have a mutual friend, Ray Kurzweil, who's just a genius and one of the greatest, inventors and futurists in the world, and probably ever, the Edison of our time. And he told me that story, I know you know as well, 20 years ago when I first met him, about this idea of like, how do we do if we can live forever? Will that really be a gift? And he said, Tony, there was an old story, an old Twilight Zone, he said. And in the Twilight Zone, this man dies and he's a gambler. And so as a gambler, he goes to heaven. And heaven, of course, for a gambler is, going to Vegas. He's the top of the Wynn Hotel. He's got the presidential suite. He goes, wow, this is really heaven. He opens the door. He's got great outfits, jewelry, cash, goes downstairs, plays blackjack, 21 you win, 21 you win, 21 you win. He goes, this is unbelievable. He's get all the cash, craps, you win, you win, you win. He goes home that night and he's not alone. He's very happy and everything. And sure enough, he wakes up the next day and starts the whole thing all over again. Well, about 3 weeks into this, one day he's out there gambling. He goes, you win, 21, you win. He goes, of course they win, I always win. He's so angry. He goes, I want to see the main angel. There's a mistake here. And the main angel comes in a tuxedo. He looks at him and he says, you have a problem, sir? He says, yes. He goes, I wasn't a good person. I don't belong in heaven. And the angel says, you're not in heaven. Sometimes getting everything you want easily isn't always it. So I think we got to find what's going to make life meaningful while we're here. But it's so meaningful for you, brother. You're trying to jam everything a day, me too, that we think great length of life. So I think it's going to be, as people find more meaning, as they have a vision larger than itself, then they want to live longer.
And I think that element of the desire to live, And I think the other part of it is people imagine old age as coming
Decrepit.
with
Yeah.
pain
Or losing your memory.
and loneliness and
Yeah.
all of those things,
Yes.
right? So how do we maintain, I think the three elements that our dear friend Bob Hurry talks about is the aesthetics, the mobility, and the cognition, right?
Yes.
You look good, you feel good,
Yeah.
you think well.
Yeah.
And that has to go hand in hand.
I agree.
And yeah, at 120, I want to go set off for Mars and then go, to the next solar system. But
So I didn't have programmed into me the solar the transfer through the universe like you had. That would make me want to extend it for sure.
yeah. So here's another question for you. What are you doing to live a healthy, longer life right now? And I'll share with what I'm up to as well.
I'm doing a ton of things. First of all, I have everything measured, as you know. I've done HLI and know where my body is and my genome and so forth. But as you know, I also do performance testing. And Bob Harari set me up with this scientific group out of Tampa that work with a lot of top Olympic athletes. And so they came out and they said, we're going to monitor you live while you're on stage for 12 hours. They didn't know it was 12 hours, I guess. So they gave me this giant device.
It was
a short day for me. But I had this thing on my chest. It's like this big, it's like $65,000. It measures acceleration, deceleration, heart rate variable, everything you imagine. And I'm staring at these guys, and they're in this bank of 5 guys on the side with their computers, staring at me, monitoring everything wirelessly in real time. And I don't know, 3 or 4 hours into it, I look over at them and I'm like, they got weird, is everything okay? And like, yeah. And so I said, is there something wrong? And they go, no, we're just seeing things we've never seen before. And it's like, okay. And so at the end of the day, the battery died at 9 hours. I went for 12 hours, right? But they came and they showed me I burned 11,300 calories, which sounds impossible. But if you saw, even before I got on stage, when I start to gear up mentally, everything in my nervous system takes over. So he said, Tony, this is the equivalent of 2.5 marathons, run, walk. They tested me twice to see it was accurate. They came to another seminar and did it because they couldn't believe it. I took in only 1,800 calories. I jumped over 1,000 times. Well, to give you an idea, I weighed 282 pounds. So he explained to me every time you come down, it's 4 times your body weight. So it's 1,000 pounds times 1,000 jumps in one day. It's 1,000,000 pounds of pressure. So he showed me, they went and did my bone density, and he goes, here's humans, here's the greatest athletes, here's something we've never measured before, which is my bone density. I've never broken anything because that much force has made such demands, and my bones have gotten unbelievably strong. And then, if you're running with a friend, there's a point if you're running fast enough you can't speak because your lactate builds up to level 4. I was level 12 and still speaking. So with that kind of demand, I got to do certain things. And so they gave me some pieces. I've been doing this oxygen deprivation while I work out, obviously, and I've built up my strength. So I have about 20% more capacity since the last time we did that.
Amazing.
Which is amazing. With less effort, only I just put out more effort. But we did it. But then the things that I'm doing specifically that people could relate to, I think, is, inflammation, as you know, is one of the biggest challenges to health.
We're actually working on inflammation XPRIZE that's being pitched at Visioneering for next year.
I heard. I think that's so spectacular. The basis of most
Victoria
disease.
Jackson is.
She's putting it up.
She's the one who's promoting this for next year.
That's fantastic. She's a dear friend of mine as well. So I'm glad to hear that. And she's done so much on orphan diseases, I think exactly. Right, with her own family and helping other people. But the point is, to get that down, cryotherapy is one of the most amazing things you can do in 2.5 minutes. And it's quite euphoric. It has an emotional component. But literally, when I used to, play football, I'd be icing, everything 2.5 hours, 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and it's painful. 2.5 minutes at minus 240 Fahrenheit, and that gets out of your body. So I use that at every event, and I use it usually twice a week outside of the event as well. I use cryotherapy, I use hyperbaric oxygen for my brain and my body because I've gone through some healing challenges with mercury, I think you know.
Yes.
I do stem cells.
Just a few healing challenges there.
Yeah, just a few. I do stem cells 3 times a year, but I do core stem cells, things you can't do in the United States.
Yeah.
And as you know, they've been a transformation of my body. They saved my shoulder when I was supposed to have surgery. I use a PMF machine, a pulse electronic magnetic frequency machine. When I tore my rotator cuffs, I had spinal stenosis, and they told me, the doctor literally said to me, a nice man, oh, you changed my life. You made my relationship great. I made $10 million. And he goes, now I got to be your doctor. He goes, see the spine? One good hit and you're quadriplegic. I was like, what? But I went to doctor after doctor, and then I found this doctor with a PMF, and I was at 9/9 pain, like I can handle pain. It was so bad I could barely breathe. I couldn't sleep. I slept an hour and a half a night for like 3 days in a row. Got this machine, took it down to 5s. Now this machine is used in Germany to destroy cancer cells, because as you know, cancer cells are like, if I remember right, 20 millivolts versus 80 millivolts in a healthy cell. They have a thinner membrane, and so it literally shocks it and breaks it, but it puts voltage into the body. Think about this. The quality of your life is the quality of life of yourself. the cells operate because they have a certain bioelectrical energy. When you can put energy that supplements it and strengthens it, everything works at functional efficiency for every cell, for every organ, for your whole body. So I found PMF to be amazing. I use it every day. So those are a couple samples. Now, what about you?
For me, it's still the basics. It is, and here's the hard part: sleep.
Yeah, I know that's so important.
Oh my God! So I
got to stop saying I'll sleep when I die. That's the wrong thing.
Sleep is critically important. It is. I mean, I wear my Aura ring here. It's got infrared. It's got accelerometers. It's got
heart rate variability. It measures, right?
And temperature, and it basically is able to give you a readout on your REM and your deep sleep and so forth. Just to be able to monitor it and actually, what can you change? So sleep is still fundamental. Exercise. I mean, God knows you get a lot of it, but I try and get in exercise every single day. I got a treadmill desk, so I'll walk my 10,000 steps. Not quite, how many marathons are you doing?
No, don't worry about it. You don't want to do it.
But then it's food. So I've gone to a mostly vegan diet.
That's great.
We've had these conversations before. I add fish back in for protein, but it's still the basics. I'm taking a number of supplements that, work right for me right now.
Yes.
I don't want to promote any particular medications, but then at the end of the day, I'm super excited to get onto regular stem cell therapies as well when they become more available. But it's still the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's still, and I'll tell you, the other one, bigger than all of those, is mindset.
There's no question about that.
Right. And so one of the things that I'm clear about is that I am, punching through that 120 barrier.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at the beginning of my life.
Yeah.
Right? I have so many lifetimes more to live compared to the person who, loved their spouse, just lost their spouse, they have nothing to live for. And what happens? They die. Right? What's the number one relationship between retirement? It's death. Right?
5 years for a man.
For a man.
The insurance industry shows that a man retires 5 years later he dies on average. Not true of a woman because they never retire. They're taking care of everybody. They're fully engaged. But for men, it's really true.
It is. And so for me, it's the passion
will.
And desire and meaningfulness of life and the excitement of what's possible. That's the number one thing. So mindset first, then sleep, exercise, and great food. And then we're going to start to layer on top for myself and for yourself lots of treatments. And we know a huge amount of these treatments that are coming out from companies like Cellularity, from United Therapeutics, from a whole range. Here's a question for you. It's a personal question. How risky are you willing to be in your quality of life, longevity treatments? I mean, there are people who don't want to take a single supplement and those who are like, just let me try it. And how do you think about that? So for you,
I look at it the same way I look at investments. When I did this, 5-year run of interviewing the greatest financial minds in the world, the Warren Buffetts, the Ray Dalios, the Carl Icahns, the most successful self-made billionaires on earth, all self-made, they all have certain things in common, and they all trade differently or invest differently, but they all believe in asymmetrical risk reward, which means most people are like, I could take a huge risk to take a huge reward, but the smartest people in the world don't do that. They take what's the smallest risk I can get with the greatest upside. Yeah. And so I look at the same thing. If you take no risk, there's no reward. But if you're going to take, I'm not going to go, our mutual friend Richard Branson, I got a seat on the plane, but after the last one blew up, I think I'm going to wait a few times until I see what happens, right? I'm not going to go on the first one with him. So that's just my style. And so with my body, I want to see that there's a proven track record.
It's fun to go on that flight together.
Yeah, we should do that flight together. We should go on that together. But the point is, I'm more than willing to do things that are cutting edge, but I want to see that there's science behind it, and I want to see there's a track record rather than experimenting with my body at that level. If I was dying of cancer or something of that nature, I probably would look at something different, because traditional therapy, as you know, has been let's burn it out, let's chemotherapy it out, and it's a race. Can I kill the bad cells before the healthy cells? As you know, the whole world's changing. We're going to be writing about it. This whole immunotherapy, we all have cancer cells in our body. When your immune system's working, those cancer cells aren't a problem. So some of those new technologies we saw at the Vatican are just life-changing. People were sent home and were told they're terminally ill, and they're standing there alive today because they've been a part of some of these new tools.
So we are working on a book together along with our buddy Bob Huri on this whole field of an extended, healthy, vital life.
It's the cutting edge of regenerative medicine. It's like, how do you increase your energy, your vitality, your strength, your life force?
What's your goal for that book from your perspective?
I want that book to save lives and change lives, and I know it can, because you and I both know those that are listening, there are technologies coming out now that if we describe them to you right now in a few minutes, you think A, it's BS, and B, something 20 years from now. But they're coming out in the next 2 or 3 years. They're already in FDA trials and phase 2 trials, some of them phase 3 trials. And so my goal with that book is to show people what they can do right now today they don't know about that could extend their life, strengthen their life, give them vitality, heal, rejuvenate. And there's so, you and I both know, it's like it's hard to sleep at night, some of the stuff that we know. And you tell people, you just tell them off the cuff and they get all excited. But I think if we take them on a journey in a little book and we show them what's available, and they can say, oh my God, there's a whole new answer from my uncle or my aunt or my brother or my sister or myself that could heal me, strengthen me, or transform me and extend the quality of my life.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And for me, it's about giving people hope.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Right? So it's like, it's hope and excitement, and by the way,
and truth,
and truth,
facts,
and access, right? Access to what this is about. But a lot of the things that these technologies, they're not. A few are super expensive, but a lot of these things are going to be available, and it's going to be about. We need to drive the transformation of the healthcare system. The healthcare system. God bless, we have what we have right now compared to 100 years ago, but it's still so extraordinarily broken. It's a sick care system. It's bureaucratic, it's difficult, and I think there's a
one size fits all.
And it's a massive transformation coming very soon.
I agree.
All right, my last question: if you have an extra 40 years to your life, what do you think about doing with that?
More kids. I do more family, more kids because I love family. But I think what it really does is like, I'm working right now on my AI because I'm hoping that all this comes through and it seems really great, but also you can walk across the street and get killed tomorrow, right? So I want my consciousness to continue regardless. And the AI we've got right now, I just got back from Serbia. They did 8 million images of me in Serbia, the highest resolution that exists in the world.
I went and met with Bill at the
facility. You met with Bill?
I saw the videos, I saw the, amazing.
But what's really amazing is most of these things are just really scripted right now. They're bots, right? We actually, because every intervention I've done since I was like 24 has been captured, audio or video, and I'm so disciplined, I recap afterwards what I did and why I did it. And all AI is machine learning to get all those distinctions. And the database we have is larger than anything in this category. So it already, first of all, can do my voice perfectly. Like when I did Money Master the Game, Simon Schuster wanted me to read the whole book in a week, 760 pages. Like, dude,
not gonna happen.
I don't care how much money you're offering me, I can't do that. But I wanted people to hear my voice. So I did the first chapter, last chapter.
That was a great idea.
But now my AI, my wife can't tell it's not me. I mean, my AI can read that whole freaking book. I don't have to go in the studio, which is cool. And I can speak in languages where you see me visually, and it's me talking with my intensity directly, not through a translator, through the language.
Portuguese.
And then the best part is to be able to help millions of people, individuals in millions of locations simultaneously without me having to physically do it 24/7, 365. And so this thing can already read your face emotionally because of the FACS tools, right? They know I'm pretty good, but they can go, look, 20% excitement and 30% anxiety. And in real time, it does that right now. It looks at you, and as you speak, it prints out what you're saying, and I listen for the words people use to know what metaphors, what they're really experiencing, what they're really feeling, the way they organize their thoughts. It does that. There are a series of patterns I have around needs and values that once I know what they are with you, I know the best way to communicate with you. It's measuring, like when people speak, all that floats above their head in me. Well, this actually does it in the AI. And this is what we already have. So I look at the first version as Pong, but these guys are blowing me away. They're way ahead of it. So I want to live as long as I can, but I'm going to make sure that even if I don't, something ever happens, God forbid, and if we do all these things, get hit by a truck, that the impact of what I've been able to learn from so many beautiful souls whose shoulders I stand on, that I can pass that on even when I'm not here, for my family, for my friends, and for those that I don't even get to know that I get to serve.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
All right.